Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spirit Insight Celebration Consciousness. Um, Meet my co-host over here, the Mr. Katman U, and he is going to start us off with an opening blessing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lorelai. Thank you for those who are new, and thank you for those who are returning. We absolutely want to bless you and bring you into this portal of love that Lorelai is anchoring to the planet through her heart and her intention and her connection to Source. So thank you always to Lorelai for being that beacon and that light and that signal for us to come together. She's signaling it's time to come together, and we have. So let us begin this blessing just by I'll ask some loving beings to come in, and if you want to, in your mind, um, bring yours in as well. The more the merrier. It's a party of oneness, so bringing all of our celestial family into a sense of resonance within us and around us is definitely what this opening is about, and what this portal is about, and what this party is about. So let yourself just open your heart and maybe close your eyes and maybe open your hands or put your hands on your heart. Whatever feels good and right for you. We're going to slow down our rhythm. We're just going to slow down. We're going to breathe in the light source codes that are coming in as photons, as love letters, as synchronicities from the universe, bringing us into a centered and settled place where we are an open vessel for love. We are an open vessel for truth. We are an open vessel for our most authentic self as we rise up to meet ourselves and the celestial kin that are here with us to love us and support us in this time of healing and attunement. I call on Archangels Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, the Phoenix, Saint Charlotte Fire, Yeshua, the Sacred Merkaba, the Triple Goddess, the Mama Gaias, the Gaia energy, our celestial kin, and the planets as they align and sing and dance in this time of frequency and opening, as we surrender into the greater impulse to be exactly who we are and how we are. And as we release the old, we allow the new to emerge. We cannot be who we were and become who we are becoming. We must be willing to release that which no longer serves us. Old fears, beliefs, limitations, old ways of adapting, old ways of perceiving. As Source is reborn in us, through us, as us, our eyes are cleaned and cleared, our hearts are opened, our wounds are held in absolute precious love light from Source itself. And the Gaia Mamas tickle our toes and sing into the soles of our feet as they connect us into their love for us, our physical body, our spirit within our physical form. The mission, the love, the power, the wisdom that we are anchoring within our expression, and how we choose to bless the world with it every single day. I ask you to just enjoy the energy, bask in the energy, receive and let go in the energy of this oneness. Say yes to loving yourself in new ways. Say yes to showing up for yourself in new ways. And say yes to letting go to old things in new ways. This time is for your awakening, and so it is. Aho. Amen. You may want to take a moment to breathe and come back into your body and let that energy settle in as you are held in this beautiful portal of love. Let yourself just receive now. Let yourself flow. And thank yourself for showing up in this awakening and this moment, as we thank our celestials for showing up and celebrating with us. Thank you, Lorelei. That was a blessing for me to be able to do that with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for always being here and holding the light. Thank you so much, Kat. And next we have Lynnea Luebben. She will be sharing her beautiful musical talents and later a meditation. Lynnea is an educator for over 25 years, an author, military veteran, and former international band and choir performer, and served as the past choir director and community theater director. She founded the nonprofit, the Maka Project, and the NaradaHaus Incorp to build sustainably and bring change through education, advocacy, green bills, and schools. She's been working with the Shea Ascension tradition since 1997. Welcome, Lynnea. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to greet you on this beautiful Sunday. I hope all of you are enjoying spring. And I'm not sure if the sun is up where all of you are at, but I thought today, as I began this journey, we'll start with a song, and it comes from the Kundalini tradition. And I don't know if many of you are familiar with Kundalini yoga, but this is a song that we utilize a lot within the Kundalini yoga tradition. And it's called The Longtime Sun. And oftentimes we use this at the end of our practice, but I'm going to be singing it at the beginning because I just find it be a good opening for the heart. And following up with the meditation I'm doing, a lot of this is going to be for opening the heart, including this song and the meditation later, because I know it's a process sometimes, especially when we've been really busy with the day-to-day stressors and the things that we're witnessing. We tend to really guard our heart and keep it protected. And so this has the song up here too, so you can learn it along with me as I sing it. I'll be switching the screen, so if you don't see my face for a moment, don't be worried, I'm still here. And then later I will also teach you how to do the meditation, because we'll be doing a singing meditation that works with opening the heart. Okay. All right. So glad to be here. May the long-time sun shine upon you. Our love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on. May the long-time sun shine upon you. Our love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on. May the long-time sun shine upon you. Our love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on. And as we bring the song to the close, what we always end with as we finish the song is we use the word Sat Nam. And for those who are not familiar with those words, Nam is I am, and Sat is truth. And so I would really love for you to say these with me. And as I do them, and I'll do a little bit of tone so you can hear that. Sat Nam. So thank you for taking this small little journey into beginning to open up to that longtime son. So thank you so very much for listening and supporting me. And I'm so glad it is being recorded, because then you'll be able to learn it when you go back and review. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynnea, for that. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Next, we have Kathy McDaniel sharing her spiritual journey. Oh, welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
Well, just a little bit about Kathy. She was hospitalized for acute lung failure in 1999. She was placed on a ventilator and into a drug-induced coma. She had a disturbing near-death experience. Although mostly traumatic, the indescribable bliss of heaven shifted her religious beliefs to a deep spirituality. Her memoir, Misfit in Hell, The Heaven Expat, chronicled her life before, during, and after her distressing near-death experience. Kathy continues to share her comforting message of God's mercy and unconditional love through podcasts, radio programs, and speaking engagements. And we're so thankful to have her here with us to share it here. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Lorelei. I'm happy to be here. Would you like me to get going?
Yep. Feel free to take over.
Okay. I was born and raised as a Catholic because my dad had been an atheist when he was younger. And when he went to World War II, he was a fighter pilot. And when he was fighting over the Philippines, his plane got shot down and he landed after cartwheeling 3 times across the sand, upside down in a burning plane. And he, there's no atheists in foxholes or on beaches either. So he prayed to God. He says, if you're out there and you can save me, I'll go home and my whole family will become Catholic. And just then a couple of Marines came running out of the jungle and pulled him out of the plane and drug him back to the medics. And he made it back. And needless to say, he kept his word. So I always went to Catholic schools. We went to church every Sunday. I had bought the whole program, and I was a very devoted Catholic for a long time. Later on in my life, I had, like everybody else, I had some ups and downs, and some times where I questioned my religion, I questioned my relationship with God, but I hung in there. And finally, years later, in my early 50s, my very best friend called and said that he had leukemia and he needed me to go to Seattle with him to be a caregiver so that I could help him through this process. And I said, sure, you betcha. So we went up to Seattle, and it was only supposed to last 2 or 3 months, but we were there almost 9 months. And he was 53 and he died. And it was very traumatic for me. I mean, we all had prayed and I don't know, it was just, I just had it with God somehow. I just thought all these things that we pray for and trust in and we're told to believe, I'm just having some doubts here. Well, it wasn't long after that I went to a concert with a friend, and this horrible flu was going around. And because I was so run down that I caught it. And it was not very long before I found myself in one of those dock in the boxes. My friend had come to my rescue when I called him and said, I'm coughing up blood. This can't be good. And he got me there. By the time we got there and opened the car door for me to get out, I felt the life force just kind of go right down through my feet. and I blacked out. He picked me up, carried me in. They got my vitals. There was no heartbeat, and they got me going again, put me in an ambulance, and I went to a hospital and woke up a couple of days later in an oxygen tent with my family all around me from out of state. And they said, you've got lung failure, ARDS, and you got a 38% chance of making it. We're going to have to put you into a drug-induced coma and throw the book at you. This was back 23 years ago, and they were using people like me as guinea pigs for the COVID people now. So they were going to try all sorts of things. They said, okay, we're going to give you this amnesia thing, and you're not going to be able to remember anything that happens to you, so don't worry about it. It's like a deep sleep, don't worry. So there was nothing I could do but say, okay. And they administered this drug and I was gone. However, I woke up and I thought, what the heck? It was pitch dark and there was no sound. And I didn't know if I was standing or sitting or whatever. And I thought, well, I'm afraid to move and it's quiet. I'll just hang out and see what happens. Well, not too long after that, this reddish glow seemed to be happening. And I thought, oh, well, good. The sun's coming up. Now I can see where I am. But when the light, it got a little lighter and it was still reddish and there was swirling fog and it started to smell really bad. And I thought, it's a little warm in here. And then I heard all this shrieking and moaning coming out of this fog. I thought, this cannot be good. And all of a sudden, this horrible voice boomed out of the fog. Do you know where you are? And I thought for a second, and I thought, I hope I'm wrong. Hell? And then it boomed, this maniacal laugh, and scared me. And I thought, I have got to get away from this thing. And I turned and ran into the darkness. And that was the beginning of a very long journey. It came in segments. The lights would come up, and I'd find myself, as in the first scene, it was a bombed out city, and there was buildings that toppled, and there was the windows were blown out. There was big chunks of concrete where things had fallen over. There was fires. There was people screaming and running, and I was completely freaked out. And I thought, well, this is not good. I'm standing out here in the open. I better find a place to hide so I can find out what's going on here. So I tucked away. And then strange things were happening. Weird kind of ghosty people were walking up toward me, and that was frightening. And then I heard these like scuttling sounds on the concrete, and I thought, well, shoot, maybe it's aliens. I really didn't know what was happening. So I thought I'd better run and find a little safer place to be. And when I tried to climb up this big wall, I fell backwards, and I thought, oh, this is gonna hurt. And the lights went out. And the lights came up. And I was someplace else. I couldn't figure out what's going on. But this time there was like this big demon standing there. And people say, how do you know it was a demon? Well, if you ever saw Bigfoot, you would know it was Bigfoot. This was a demon, and he was big, and he was menacing, and he had a big stick. And I thought, uh-oh, and I froze. And he said, you want to get out of here? And I said, yes. He says, you do one thing for me and I'll get you out. And I thought, this is weird, but I'm going to go for it. So he waved his arm, and here's this huge blackberry field as far as you can see, all the vines twisting and stuff. And I thought, what in the heck? And he gave me a pair of little paper cutting scissors you give kids, and says, you cut all that down and I'll make sure you get out of here. And I thought, oh, this guy's playing with me. But I thought, again, I had no idea where I was. I had no idea I was dead. I had no idea what was going on, except I needed to get out of there. So I went down into the thicket, and I started sawing on one of these canes. And when it finally broke loose, I went to put it behind me so I could move forward. And when I turned back around, it grew back in front of me. And I looked up at this demon, and he's laughing and saying, give up, just despair. You're never getting out of here. This is where you're going to stay. And I thought, no. I somehow in the back of my mind, I remembered despair. That's the ultimate sin. I can't do that. I can't despair. I have to keep going. So I did. And then the lights went out, and then the lights came up. Sometimes I was on this really long road. It was like being in a moonscape. There was nothing but that reddish glow on the horizon and nothing but dirt and rocks. And I thought, well, it was well worn in spots. And so that appeared to be a road. And I thought, well, maybe it leads out of here. So I would walk on this road and then another light would come up. I'd be in another situation, always worse than the one before, always offering this terrible job to do so that I could get out. Another was in an abortion clinic. Another one was in just bad. It went from bad to worse. And every time they would say, you have to do this to get out, I'd say, no, I'd try the first step while they still had a stick at me and then say, no, I'm not going to do that. It's disgusting. It's wrong. And I won't. The club would come up. I'd close my eyes. It'd get black. And then it would come up. The very weirdest thing about being my experience, I've been told, is that I saw living people down there. I saw two of my relatives down there on this road. And one of them was someone that was very concerned about the outer appearance of a person. You know, if you looked good, you were good. There was a real snarky side to her personality, and you had to be careful around her. She would say cutting remarks. And I knew that when I got back, I knew I had to give her a message about that. And I did, and that did not go well. The other person I saw down there was a very dear relative, and I was walking along this road. I felt like I'd been there for years, and I was starving. I was tired. I was thirsty. And that was another reason I didn't think I was dead. I had a body, even though I'd never looked down to see it. I felt all those things. I came upon her when she was cooking this magnificent banquet on this road. And I asked her, I said, please, just get me one little plate of anything, a glass of water. I know you're busy. And she just looked at me and said, this is for important people. And boy, did that hurt. So I just excused myself and continued on the road. This is funny because I'll break right here and say, I saw her yesterday in real life. She was visiting my mom. And it's funny because I had given her this message, and that was, gosh, quite a long time ago. And she had been in a really bad relationship. She has gotten out of that relationship. She's remarried. She's happy. She's just doing great. And in my mind, I didn't want to bring it up to her again, because when I told her about it, she was kind of freaked out. But in my own mind, I knew that telling her that really changed her life. So as I kept on this road, there was another terrible situation with meeting up these zombie-like horrible creatures that attacked me and left me in pretty bad shape. Again, feeling the beatings and what went on. I kept going, and finally got to what I didn't know was going to be the end, but was. I was in this bad situation with a bunch of other ladies in the same situation. And I said to this demon lady in charge of us then, I've been here a long time, and this is a particularly low, horrible, nasty, what's going on? She says, oh, well, you know, it's Christmas on Earth. That's always the worst day in hell. And I thought, hell? Why didn't that dawn on me, you know? And I thought, oh my gosh. And I thought, this made me mad. And I just started singing a Christmas carol. And the demon lady yelled at me. The other ladies with me started singing along too. Way in a manger, no crib for his bed. The little Lord. And as I got to the next word, this demon lady leapt at me and yelled, shut up. And I closed my eyes. Oh my gosh, the lights came up, but it was bliss. It was joy. It was undescribable. It was wonderful. And I forgot everything that had happened before. I was just rolling in this love and being, I just couldn't explain it. Anybody who's been there knows. And as the light kind of settled down a little bit, I noticed that I was like white marble or something all around. And I thought, well, this is kind of strange. And it's kind of dawning on me that this is something super good, but I'm not really sure what it is. And I looked over to one side because something caught my eye, and I saw this like architect's table with this huge book open about halfway. And I remember somebody telling me something about that, what was in that book, and how I said, oh, no, that's going to be too hard. I want to stay here. And I looked up, and there's my friend, the one that had died the month before, my dear friend who died of leukemia. And so when you die of leukemia, you don't look real good. No hair and blotchy and stuff. He looked wonderful. He looked about 35 years old, and he was wearing a sweater I gave him. And he had this look on his face like, I know something you don't know. And then he's waiting for for the shoe to drop. And I thought, oh my gosh, he doesn't know he's dead. Oh, crud. I'm not going to be the one to tell him. And he started laughing. And I thought, no, I didn't say that out loud. And then he said, now, Mary Kay, you've got too much left to do. And I thought, they're throwing me out. Oh my gosh. And I said, no, no. The lights went out. Lights came up. I'm now in a hospital. I can't move. I am too hot. There's these strangers. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm still back in hell, and it's my family. And they're all excited. Yay, mom's back. And I have no idea what's going on. My daughter comes over, sits down, and says, Mom, you've been super sick. I got this trach thing in my throat. I can't talk. I can't move. I was down 86 pounds. The doctor the next day did an exam. I could move this finger and blink, and I'm thinking, you've got too much left to do. I can't move. This is a terrible joke. I was very upset. I was not happy. So finally, I'm in the hospital, the ICU for a month. Then I'm in a physical rehab place for a month, learning how, since you don't have any muscle memory left, you have to learn everything again, just like an infant. How to crawl, walk, swallow, button, everything. I was depressed. It took me 10 years before I found IONS and SAI and other people that could explain to me what the hell had happened. Unfortunately, most of them were, just the heaven people. It took me even longer to find anybody that had the distressing one. There's a lot of shame and fear that follow you after that. So now, of course, I am thrilled to be back. I have started a group for distressing near-death experiencers. I'm going to give a workshop at the IONS conference on that in September. And I have learned that God is all loving, all forgiving, and would never condemn anybody. I believe that I planned that whole thing like we plan our whole lives. I planned that experience. As Nancy Evans Bush says, I was a brave soul. I went and had that experience so I could come back and say to people, if you believe in that, you can manifest that. That's what I've manifested. I believed I would go to purgatory. As a Catholic, I was always taught that nobody went straight to heaven, maybe Pope Paul II, or Mother Teresa, but everybody else had to go to purgatory. We even prayed for the souls in purgatory, the poor souls in purgatory, to get them out. So I'm saying, skip the trip. God loves you unconditionally. And the only way you go to hell, in my estimation, is if you make your own. And so I hope that is helpful to people. And that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. We're so happy you came back with that message. Thank you. Now we are going to open it up to the gallery for a minute here. If anybody would like to share in the spiritual fellowship, how spirit has moved through them in a synchronistic, or what I call those angel moments where we stepped in to help someone or someone stepped in to help us. If anybody would like to share, we open up this time for just a few minutes to share something.
I'll crack the ice just so people No one has to. I'll be the weird, awkward person to start. With the work I'm doing right now, I'm doing this podcast training, which I've recently launched. This whole process. It was like a year and a half ago that I had a lucid dream, where there was this person who was setting up this table, this well, not table, but it was it was this reception area. It was an outdoor reception area. It was really kind of cool and fancy, but and earthy. And I knew in my lucid state I only had so much span of attention, because it's an altered state of mind, right? And so I didn't really have that muscle developed. So I was like, okay, so what's going on? I know you've got a message for me. And I'm like, like getting my attention really, like, trying to crystal clear my attention so I can get the information and remember the information when I wake up. And she said, oh, well, this is a reception party for your podcast academy celebration, the graduation party for your podcast. And I was like, and at that time I was like, oh, my podcast, like I didn't have a reference point for it. And she's like, yeah, then there's an angel coming by to help set up, because so be thankful, because you can always count on an angel. Other spirits, not so, it's more iffy, but angels, if they say they'll do it, they'll do it. So you have an angel coming in to help you with the setup. And I was like, oh, cool, and then I came out of it, and I wrote it down, and I wrote down the dream. But it's funny, it's like a year and a half later, and it could have been so much sooner had I not resisted the flow. But it was literally my resistance to change, and my resistance to healing old wounds, wounds that I thought I had healed, wounds that were buried. All of this stuff that impedes our personal joy is so essential for us to go through. And if we're willing to go through it and turn into it and surrender into that journey, whether it's uncomfortable, overwhelming, but just be willing to show up, you will be held through it, even though you'll go through maybe your dark night, or you'll go through some terrifying moments of your ego death, because that's just what it is. The ego's realizing it's not in control. There's something much bigger. Like we just heard from Kathy, there's something so much bigger, more vast than what our mind wants to create. And so we can create hell on earth. We don't even have to wait to die to create hell, right? We can be creating hell on earth right now with our resistance to love, our resistance to our own highest good, our resistance to being our authentic self, which might turn some people off and turn other people on that we never had met before. So that's just me with my pom-pom saying, do it sooner, surrender sooner, and live your best life for yourself sooner. So
Thank you for that, Kat. Yeah. I always say, when you surrender to the flow is when abundance, comes in, and and when I don't, that's that lovely word, the S word, comes in, if I'm attaching too much and not just letting those divine messages come through. Is there anyone else who wants to share anything?
I would.
Okay, Lynnea, you're a little quiet.
Oh, maybe it's because of the music. Here.
There you go.
Mike House. I wanted to just thank Kathy for telling her story at this time, because that's how the universe works. As all of us do, our primal relationships are the hardest. The relationships we have with our primal families. And my mom was a Sunday school teacher for 60 years, and a beautiful woman, but very determined between hell and heaven, and that's all that was wrote. And I had to find my voice in that, and we just literally had this discussion, and that also meant we weren't speaking for 2 weeks because I always stand in my truth anymore. I don't allow things that are harmful. It's okay to have your own beliefs, but if those beliefs take away and have been damaging to others, somebody has to say the truth. And this is a thing that I think that we're so that fear is what creates those experiences. And you and I potentially know that no loving God, if it's love, there is not all of this other stuff. Guilt and shame and all of those other emotions like that, those are learned emotions that we have when we come into this 3D experience. They're not natural emotions. So those were taught onto us. Those were kind of put onto us like little sticky notes. You're going to feel this or this or that. And um, I think this has probably been one of the most damaging beliefs in the history of time, is that somehow we're going to be punished. We're going to do something so bad when we don't even know half the time why we're even here. It's like having a paper bag on your head and trying to figure it out. And then because of that, and because you weren't smart enough to figure out how to take the paper bag off, you're going to be thrown into a lake of fire or something for all eternity. I was like, what kind of sadistic person are you following? I said, that's just ridiculous. And I said, we've been here for 2,000 years, with some of these love messages, and before that, because that love message was here long before that. But that specifically was at love message time, and we still haven't figured it out. So I want to say thank you for sharing this, because it's the one misbelief I wish I could remove. But, again, you can't take away somebody's experience. If you wouldn't have had your experience with what you had, would it have been as poignant? So thank you for sharing, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynnea, and thank you again, Kathy. Definitely, like I said, I love her message, and I'm so thankful for it. Keisha, you have your hand up, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to share a little insight that I came into this morning. My dream ended last night with a big black dog sitting on my lap, and it's just so comforting. And as I'm recalling it this morning, I'm asking myself, like, I feel like that was Zeus, who is my dog now. And I look over at Zeus and I said, oh, like, I've always wanted a German Shepherd. And then it just clicked, like, I've always wanted a German Shepherd my whole life. And the story behind how Zeus came into my life is, synchronistic. And then that led me further into, all those other things that have drawn to me, like hearing people sing, that bring me to tears, and music and public positive speakers and such, all the things that really move me, like beautiful acts of humanity and such. When I think of, like my calling or my purpose, I think of like me finding it. But this morning with all this, the revelation came in that those things have always been calling to me, yeah, kind of onto the, I attract, not chase, and that everything, life itself has been showing itself to me, and that if you slow down enough, yeah, you can see, and it's all within us, it's all around us. And so thanks for letting me share.
That's great.
Thank you.
We have, well, I was just say real quick, just reflect real quick, Keisha. One of the things my guides would always say to me first and foremost was, calm down. Calm down. Like, if we can calm down and slow down enough, then they can have a conversation to us. But when we're bouncing so hard, they can't get through our thought wall. Our thought wall is too thick. So bless your heart. Dana, did you had your hand up?
Yeah, I support everything everybody just said. Our parents do the best with what they've been given. And some family lines are a little stricter in some ways, like where and why, like, that's always personal. And I think that as we overcome these, things that like they begin as fears, I went to a private school, and like, love was there, but like fear was really like the ruling hand. And growing up with experiences like so outside of the box from such an early age, I had nowhere to go with any of that other than just internalize it, process it, wait for it to, reveal itself. And on a lot of occasions, it's taken many decades of just learning how to relax, because that's it, like when these, every time something happens, it throws there's a red flag in the road. Like, I'll be back on that track. Like, like the track will come back to me. It'll circle back and cycle back around. And when it's supposed to be understood, it'll be revealed. But it's really difficult to go through that, to deal with that process. And fear seems to be that orientation. It's the most effective, and it anchors the density, and like, that's kind of the goal of darkness, is to anchor density. We can call it Satan, we can call it devil, we can call it anything we want. But like, we're in the spectrum that goes up and down forever. We're a part of it, and where we are resonating at, a sliver of that spirit is here to be a reflectionary mirror. And like, those things that are pushing our buttons, that we don't want to look at, that we want to run from, they have them. They're our teachers. They're our teachers. We cannot be hurt in this space. We cannot, this is a playground for our spiritual ascension and growth. And when you meet the right spirit, when you have the right circumstance, it locks itself in, and it can't help but radiate out of you, because that's just what it needs to do. That's what it needs to do, so that way we can just be whoever we need to be. And that does not fit in to any partitioned ideology, and it's been subcategorized and through so many various religions, to partition these things. And what is God? What is it begs that larger question. And to be comfortable with knowing that we're here to be exemplary measurements for that, for consciousness direct. It's what allows the universe to fill those gaps, and like, the less that our fear is attached, the more straight shooting oriented that the measurement's going to be. There's not as much junk in the road. I can just put my measuring tape down. I'm going straight shot. I don't have to go around all these bushes that I'm afraid to knock out of the way, or, like, there's too many thorns. I don't want to get too close, blah, blah, blah. Just, and it's taken me overcoming that fear base. It's taken me a lot of decades, but I tell you what, there's nothing I can't laugh at now. There's nothing I've had experiences, some extend into physical, that I had a tree pile drive through my ankle, and it separated, like it was 6 inches away. And then like it like kept going, and then it ground, and like it's been, so like this, and I enjoyed being a schmuck. I worked on an assembly line, a Ford Motor Company. Like, I hated it because it didn't serve my spirit, but I was making a bunch of people a bunch of money, and there was no spiritual honor attached to that. It was an assembly line thing. They did pull me off the floor a lot because I could relate a lot. So I did have additional relations with management because of that. They recognized that, like, hey, this guy's got a lot to teach. He's got a lot to share. Like, we ought to listen to this. It contributes, whether or not he's salary or not. We are the rubber meeting the road. This physicality, this spirit, everything in between, how it comes together. Like, this is our vehicle, and that's all it is. I'm not attached to this thing. I'll use it as long as I need to, as long as I'm supposed to. But I'm really grateful that that I've had those fear things happen, because within 2 years I found myself out. This tree destroyed my life. I couldn't stand. Within 2 years, I find myself at a tree of life ceremony where these people are intentionally piercing themselves to something that chose to go through my body on its own. I didn't So it's like, oh my God, like what is going on here? Like move over, but it like, so that fear, it went from destroying my life to really being the portal to saying, you know what, like you were meant for bigger, and like you won't be able to stand until you know what you need to know. And and like that's really difficult when your entire life is based on building 400 units a day. Like there's this physical, this entire, the fruits of the labor, this physical transition from physical production to spiritual recognition, honoring, and then seed sowing. It's all still in process. I'm still coming to terms with it all. I haven't wanted the role. I enjoyed being a schmuck. I and like I don't have that choice. I don't have that choice anymore. Spirit forced me to say, hey, I'm in your life and there's nothing you can do about it, but have this relation with me, because you got it whether you want it or not. So you might as well make it a good one. You can't separate yourself. You can't run away from me. So we might as well be friends and get through this together. And like, a lot of times, our spirit, we kind of perceive it as our shadow self, when that's the opposite it's trying to be, so like, holy cow. I love it all. I'm thankful for all the difficulties that made me pause. So with that's what I'll do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dana. I love your wisdom. And it's really interesting. My fourth death experience, I literally called it a vehicle and said I had to get, they're like, if you want that body, get back in it. I'm like, how do I start this vehicle? They're like, you have to do a systems check. I'm like, systems check? I mean, yeah. So that's hilarious. Thank you. Thank you so much. Kat, did you have something to add, real?
I just wanted to kind of piggyback and reflect that the whole thing of surrender again. Like, if you surrender early on, and Lorelai knows this too, we've compared notes. Like, if you'll just surrender early on, they don't have to give you the hard tap. So it's like, even though you're wanting to say, maybe later, maybe like literally, and once you do surrender, you start learning that the more you surrender, the better it all gets. It doesn't mean that it doesn't get less challenging, but your ability to know that you're supported in the challenges starts to really, like, this relationship to your whole celestial family starts to grow because you're willing to surrender. So, don't get stabbed through the ankle. Don't do it. Just surrender early on. Don't have an unnecessary near-death experience because they're like, would you stop saying words you're not supposed to say? You need to, So, like, there's this whole thing of, like, if you're just willing to have that relationship now and let them freak you out now, let them get you uncomfortable now, let them get you out of your comfort zone, let the ego death commence. Just do it. And you're not alone in doing it. You have other people doing it with you. The more you say yes to that, the more you're going to find your community, and the more you're going to have a richer experience with spirit, life, Gaia, all the beings that are supporting you within your own body, within your own consciousness, within your own day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience. So surrender now to love, wisdom, and power.
Thank you for that, Kat. Definitely. And and you're still gonna have those periods of what I call mini death. Just don't freak out about them. Yeah, and just trust that they flow you into bigger and better things. I would say this or something better, and it seems to always work that way with that faith in mind. So, thank you for all of that, everyone. Next, we're going to move on to the healing portion of our event today. We're going to start with the healing meditation. Lynnea is going to lead us through. So I'm just going to spotlight her so she can walk us through that. She's going to teach us.
Hi, thank you for having me back to do this portion. And I've just really enjoyed listening to you. It's so funny. You're always a little unsure coming into a group where you don't know people. What is the energy going to be like? Is it going to be sincere? Is it going to be heartfelt? And I didn't know. I didn't know. And I know Lorelai, and I think I know Catman, but the rest of you I didn't know. And I am so honored to get to hear your stories and get to see and feel that from the heart level. And so today we are going to be working with heart meditation, because I do feel like our heart is that driving space where everything happens from. And we oftentimes talk about, wisdom. And oftentimes we always think that that wisdom space is like up here in the cranium. But that cranium is actually just part of that. She was talking about systems check on our body. That's just kind of one of those systems processors. But the actual real driving force is like lower here. And that's why they would always say, bring your, there's a passage from, I want to say it's Rumi, where he says, take your head and put it below your feet, because your head is what's causing most of the problems. You get all that stuff up in your head, and then you get pulled away from your heart. And our heart is also kind of where our inner child lives. And you heard me talking a little bit earlier about the relationship with my mom. I had a therapist one time try to tell me that I didn't love my mother. And she said, you can respect her, but you don't have to love her. I said, I absolutely love my mother, and you're not going to tell me any other way. And the thing is we have the parents that we have for a reason. And my mother gave me all these beautiful skill sets to be the strong person that I am. If it wouldn't have been for her guiding wisdom, I wouldn't have known these stories. I wouldn't have known what was out there. I wouldn't have known that I could turn to prayer or some type of way to still my heart when I was feeling troubled or fearful or any of those types of things. And, if we look at the things that happen to us as we develop and grow, oftentimes it's those things where that fear or those other things that come up, that's a very childlike thing. Like being afraid of the dark, being afraid of the unknown, because that's a lot of what it is, being afraid of the unknown. And it's not our adult self that's afraid. It's that little child inside that's very afraid sometimes of that. So I love this picture of the swan, and especially with the baby in the center. I know Lorelai had said before that part of the Ashaya tradition, and the swan was always on the front of a lot of their work. So it made me think of that, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. And so our inner child is just trying to find its place in the universe, especially since it came into this 3D existence from a very divine perspective, because we wanted this experience for some reason, whatever that reason might be. That's individual for each person. And oftentimes when we get in here and we get into the thick of things, we start to lose our balance, or we start to lose why we were there. I always like to teach a meditation that I'm not going to teach today, because what I found more and more as I've been working with people, some people have never had a direct experience with love. And when I say love, I'm not talking about the romantic love. I'm not talking about the ooey gooey sticky rainbows and unicorn things type of love. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about pure unconditional love that loves you when you're sick, that loves you when you're tired, that loves you if they have to change your adult diaper or whatever those types of things are. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't see you for your job. It doesn't see you for your function. It just sees you for your light. And that was always a hard one, because the whole exercise starts you with having to think of a time when you felt pure unconditional love. And I was starting to realize that members in my communities, some of them had never experienced pure unconditional love. And if this is you, if this is your experience, then I hope this little pre-exercise will help you. And later on in the future, I'd be willing to do the full exercise. But I think it's really important to first start to open the heart to what that is, because love isn't something that comes from the outside. And I don't know if I could say this until the cows come home, but until you experience it, it's a different thing. And I've been trying to help women, and especially because we're really broken that we all grew up with the Disney belief system of what love is. And so we were always expecting it to come from the outside in versus the inside out. And for some of you that grew up in, depending on where you grew up, you remember the picture of Christ, knocking on the door of the heart. Well, this is very similar, but it has to do with the mothering energy, like the great mother, or that Gaia energy, that unconditional mother that loves us regardless of physical makeup, because we came from her. We all get a little piece of Gaia when we come into this planet that take with us at all times. And it's part of what makes us who we are. So we're going to start with something I used to do with my babies when they were little. So I'm going to ask you to place your hands on your heart, and we're just going to rock for a little bit. We're just going to sit back and just rock for a little bit. And I want you to kind of start taking your hand and tapping your heart, just like you were comforting a baby. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. Will never forget you. I will never leave you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. Will never forget you. I will never leave you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. Will never forget you. I will never leave you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen. So I'd like you to try to sing this along with me. I know sometimes because of latency, that's difficult with everybody's mic. So if you want to just leave your mic off and try to sing this song so that you can hear it, close your eyes. Don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing, and just put your hand on your heart and just tap it gently. And we'll start again. So it's listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. I will never forsake you. I will never leave you. Okay, so let's try this. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. Will never forget you. I will never leave you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will always love you. I will always love you. I will never forget you. I will never leave you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen. So as you start to take this in, I want you to note how you feel in your body. What types of emotions are coming up. If you have to close your eyes again and just think of the very first word And then when you've got that in your mind, I'm going to open it up for just a minute. If you want to share that one word, what's the first word that comes up? So I'll kind of watch for anybody, and if anybody's willing to share.
I would say joy came up.
Good. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing, Mike.
Tranquility.
Tranquility. Good. Kathy?
I heard happy.
Happy. Very good.
Honor.
Honor. That's good. Those are good ones. Thank you.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Now, those first emotions, they're really important because sometimes love is a very abstract thing, right? Sometimes emotions are very abstract, especially if we put ourselves in our head for protection for a long time. Getting into what is that emotion that's coming up for me? What am I feeling in this moment? And so when you tell somebody, okay, we're going to do a love meditation, they've never had an experience. You have no idea what somebody's path has been. And I tend to work with a lot of people. I don't know what it is. And they're just coming out of the woodwork, just tremendous amounts of sexual abuse at young ages and all these physical abuse and all these things that traumatize the soul, on the deepest heart levels. And so when you ask somebody, let's try to feel unconditional love, and they have no root experience for that, it's very difficult. So we try to work with these smaller things, and tapping, as you know, potentially, if you work a lot with spirituality, tapping starts to open up the cellular responses to the body things. So anytime you can do any type of tapping with your body, it's a good way to start. Later on, maybe in a future time, I will teach the pink light meditation, but I think for today, I'm just so glad that you all felt joy or tranquility or honor or just all these beautiful things that you felt. So thank you for walking this meditation with me. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Lynnea. And I'm looking forward to the next time for you to share that. Thank you so much. Now we're going to open it up to the fellowship again of, at this point, we ask for a loving energy of anybody that has an intention they'd like energy for, or something that they are looking to heal. For me personally, I am doing integration right now of, I believe, my aspect that I sort of kind of shifted after my first death experience at 7, because when I came back, it was very almost PTSD like, in the sense that I came from such a pure love, that white light of source, and that peace, to back to a place that felt completely foreign, and I didn't understand it. I was only 7 and I could see and know things, and people didn't seem to operate from that love space. So for me, I'm reintegrating that lost aspect of my child right now. So that's the intention I have to send energy for. Anyone else would like to share something they have an intention or healing that they'd like energy for?
Yeah, I put my dad in there. I'm going to be moving to Iowa to help take care of him and be with him. He's 85 and he fell a while ago, and he didn't just fall, he had fallen, and he was also like there all night long into the next day until someone came to and found him. He had cracked and fractured several ribs and vertebra. So he's in a nursing home. I know it sounds horrible, right? I don't know how you can function like with all of that, but he's in a nursing home. And he is recovering, but he's also, he's really in his early stages of deciding to leave, as far as I can tell, psychically and empathically. And so, but being there for him to hold his space, to be with him in the portal as he goes through the portal, to let him know he's, not going to be alone when he crosses. That's going to be the thing. But just to send him love. His name's Howard. So just to send him love and support, so he knows that my whole thing of going there and staying there before he even gets home is just so he knows that I'm there, and he knows that he's not abandoned in the nursing home, because I think that's an easy place for us to go to, is we feel like life has abandoned us, especially when we get to a certain age. And that's, I'm not going to let that be an imprint that he takes over with him on the other side. So he'll know that he's loved when he crosses over, just like a baby knows it's loved when it's coming through. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Kat. And we'll send healing energy in just a little bit to Howard at the collective. Is there anyone else who has an intention that they want to work with, or something they're looking to heal or integrate?
I'd like to share. My intention is to step more into myself and embrace a leadership role. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Keisha. Anyone else have something else? It's okay if you don't, or if you want to send it privately, Spirit knows, that's all that matters.
I'd like to pray for our, just put up this prayers. I want prayers. That's what I want. I want prayers for my women's group. The universe has brought in a lot of really strong women into the red tent. And not only that, but just really collected them into this very concentrated area where I'm living. And I can tell that there's all this work that is they're going to manifest something. But it's amazing how the universe takes broken souls and turns them into these beautiful pieces of pottery that, you know what I'm trying to say. And they're really struggling right now. They're really struggling. And it seems almost all of them are single moms. I cannot tell you how many of them are single moms. So what has always been odd to me is I came into a family that was a triangular or a square family, and I was a circular person. So I came with a circular mindset about how a Teyoshpe, or how a family uses, that energy to support each other. And so I guess you would say that it's an indigenous model. I came in with a heartfelt indigenous model into a very Christian mindset. And we don't know how to take care of each other as a community. We have forgotten about the importance of taking care of our women and children. We've forgotten about the importance of being there to support our neighbor, going in and doing those wellness checks and making sure that they have enough that they can support themselves. They have enough food to eat. They have, they have somebody to take care of their kids, just so they can take an hour to go repatriate themselves, or even 3 hours, to find some time to sit with other women without being in hypervigilance. And if you've been a parent, you understand the term hypervigilance. You're always on because you're always concerned for their safety. You're always concerned that something could happen. And especially women that have been traumatized, then you're extra hypervigilant. And so I would like to pray that we are able to build the support network that we need so we can get back to that circular way. Because I do feel that it's kind of where we're headed, at least in my heartfelt mindset, that's where we need to get back to in order to create a more flourishing society. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that, Lynnea. And yes, for those ladies, it's a beautiful, beautiful group, the Red Tent. And just, there's a lot of single parents really struggling right now. Anyone else before we send that loving energy? Okay. So for 5 minutes, we're going to send energy to the collective to heal, and for each of your intentions and your healing aspects and prayers that you would like. I'm just going to walk us through that. Feel it from our heart space. When the divine always shows me, it's almost like a portal right below your heart space here, where I see like galaxies and universes and all that you ever are. And that's the place where they tell me to send it out like a beam. We always call it like the Care Bear stare, like that beam of love and light out to the collective to connect with each other and send it out for those intentions. So we just pull and connect and just be that conduit to just expand it out Set that intention. For Keisha, for Howard, for the ladies of the red tent, for all your intentions that we set today, privately and publicly. Imagine it like a lighted net that's just connecting and spreading that loving energy. Each one of us. I like to imagine I'm breathing in all this love and divinity and just breathing it into life, into the universe. Feel that light expand around you. I imagine it like pushing out in my aura. It just keeps going from light body to light body out into collective consciousness. You take one last deep breath in and recenter yourself. Thank you all for your loving energy to each other and the collective. Thank you so blessed by you. Thank you. Now I'm going to open it up. I believe Jeff right there. Jeff is going to give us an intuitive message for the collective. There he is. Hello, Jeff.
For sole purpose with you is to have you open your hearts, not so much to be with us, but to be with yourself, to be fully connected with yourself, with your inner self, with your higher self, to fully experience who you are, your inner love. You are part of us, part of the collective, and part of yourselves. And notice where your mind separates you, where your mind detaches you. Experience your fullness. You are complete within yourself as you are. Experience your inner light, your powerful energy, everything that makes your inner self so powerful. That is all we or anyone can ask of you. Be fully who you are with us, with each of you, with yourselves. Most humans don't do this. With this group, that's all we ask. To be who you are and embrace who you are and love who you are. And through loving who you are, to love all of us, which is where it comes from. Empower, completely open each of your chakras, which is where your inner love, inner light comes from. To be fully who you are. Embrace yourself. Embrace your power, your light in each moment. That's all that can ever be asked of you. To be you. You're magnificent. Your love. Be you. Thank you.
Thank you for being that beautiful conduit for that divine message. Thank you so much, Jeff,
Namaste.
for your beautiful light. Now I open it to the collective. If anyone else has any intuitive thoughts or messages that they would like to share as well. was in that energy. It was so beautiful, Jeff.
Sometimes the deepest messages are the most simplest. And it's really that simple. I'm almost ashamed to fill the space with sound, because one of the things that I have recently been working with is the fact that, especially in Lakota culture, which if you don't know me, I'm really connected to that because I'm originally from South Dakota. I used to work on the reservation, used to work at the colleges there. And they say that within our culture, we have a hard time sitting in silence. We have to fill every space with sound and every space with noise. And Jeff couldn't do what he just did if it was all filled with noise. And so when we fill the space with a lot of extra noise and a lot of extra electronics and mechanical, that's what I'm saying. Right now we're here, we have this beautiful web that's allowed us to create this interwoven spider web. And this is the healthy part of the spider web where we can connect with each other and we can share along those lines. But sometimes it also fills us with a lot of distractions. And for a great many number of spiritual people that have messages to give, we get caught up in the distractions and then we're not there to hear the inner voice. When we did the love meditation and we were opening up our heart. And so it's talking all the time to us, waiting to be heard. All of those messages that come directly through us. We talk about the other the other entities, Michael, Gabriel, all of the angels and all of those entities. We're the conduit, and we forget that, and that conduit doesn't make us less than. They're here to support us on our mission. They're here to support us on our goal. And I just wanted to say that because it's important to understand that all love comes from self. All real deep wisdom comes from self, and you're the only one that's walking your path. And so the voices that we get, these beautiful messages remind us that that's who we are. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for that, Lynnea. Thank you. So much love to you.
I was sitting in silence this morning doing that thing, looking for the space between the words, and I've came up with a couple different personal family prayers and things like that I do and say and whatever, with the family, and that we upgrade as we go along because that's our job. Genetically speaking, spiritually, genetically, that's how we prepare our family's future. By framing that. So this is a prayer / meditation that I just came up with this morning, and I focused a little bit on it, and it brought some tears to me, and like us coming to terms with what's happened in our lives. That's not easy, and like in some ways I still got growth for sure, no doubt about it, but I'm open to seeing it in the future, and I think that this little prayer, intuitive mantra, like each day when I see that sun, I'm starting my sun gazing back up, and it's a tricky thing, so make sure you know the rules on that, but fortifying what we want to see, fortifying our intentions, and this one is is along Rev Ned's lines of gratuity, and it's called thankful. Thankful for what comes and thankful for what goes. Thankful for the in-between that only spirit knows. Thankful for the you and thankful for the me. Thankful for the everything which gives our spirit its wings. Oh.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That was. I love that.
I haven't shared that publicly. That's the only two people. Rev Ned was the first to get that one, and my wife was the second. Because it's like, hey, this is, we ain't what happened to us, but it's got a lot to teach when we let go of the pain. But dang, that's what makes it personal, So, and we've been receiving, we've been artificially keeping ourselves in that personhood, personalness rather than the presentation, the present. It's a present. It is personal, but it's a present. It's a personal present. And everything that sucks teaches, the things that suck, they teach us the most. And I, hey, I hope it don't need to be that way. Like like Catman said, we want to frame it in a way where it don't need to suck so bad in the future to receive these and to synchronize ourselves. And gratuity and thankfulness, it frames life a little easier for the future when we start off with that, what we want to see, being grateful for what we want to see, because it's always one step closer when we are, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana, for sharing of yourself in that beautiful poem and your wisdom. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? Okay.
I just wanted to say it's okay to say sometimes that it sucks. I think it's absolutely okay to say sometimes it sucks.
I know this is teaching me something, but it don't feel so
It
good
still
right
sucks.
now. Yes. Oh, so true.
It goes back to that. It goes back to that honor thing, I guess. Like it's, when she was doing that, the first word that come to my mind was attention, but attention it wasn't so accurate, because like it's saying, because we want to be heard. The inner child, all of our inner children need to be heard. They, like getting abandoned at the wrong moment, like it really hangs us out to dry on the lifeline, so to speak. So resynchronizing ourselves back into our sacredness, and releasing whatever artificial programming said we weren't, because that was the only separation that there's ever been, was those artificial beliefs accepted, which were never valid. They were meant to control our minds. They were meant to control our future frameworks. Because if we knew that we could frame our sacredness in the future, we could spend more time with that. This is where religion meets belief systems that it transcends all of that stuff, and it pulls this reality into this being. It says, hey, I got expectations, and I do. Because in a lot of ways, it's very clear that life does suck, but we're the measuring stick that sees it and says it, so that way, and then we give that to the universe, so that way it can sort it out. It's not our job to create the solutions. It's our job to measure, to make the right measurements. That's the reason for our physicality, is because that's the between, so that's it. Thank you.
Yes, perception creates your perception creates your reality, in a sense of how we filter it. Exactly. Thank you. Now we're going to ask that our lovely Rev Ned is going to give us our closing blessing, and then I'll have some announcements. So Ned, would you like to do that for us?
Thank you, Lorelei, the light. Thank you. The sound vibrations of the breath of the sacred whistle are calling us to close the sacred gathering in good ways, to honor our connectedness in the high energies of spirit, wrapped, and pure love. As this sacred whistle of the winged ones connect us, so too are we connected in eternal ways and cosmic ways. These ways stream through our bones, our flesh, our heart thoughts, our head thoughts, our essence of the mystical more, and through our experiences. John Muir wrote, quote, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe." End of quote. Galactic souls of the universe, each one of us here are wholly hitched to one another and to all that is. We are hitched to this cosmic consciousness. We're here to celebrate our sacred part of this expanding consciousness. Amazing ones, we give thanks that we can come together in these wondrous ways and experience our interconnectedness in such waves. We give thanks and appreciation to all who participated here in our gathering, and to those that support this gathering of celebrating consciousness in various vibrations. How remarkable in our own individual uniqueness we gather and can become one. Yes, something very special. Evolving and expanding our uniqueness brings us together in wholeness within ourselves and beyond us. Each one of us are dynamic pieces of this galactic puzzle of the ever-expanding universe. Here's a short story to remind us of how truly connected we are, even when so-called strangers meet for the first time. A little East African boy in Dar named Abbas wanted to meet the Creator. He knew it would be a long trip to where the Creator lived. So he packed his bag with small sweet cakes, large bottle of water, and started on his journey. He had been on his way for about 10 long minutes when he met an elderly woman. She was sitting in the park by the Indian Ocean, just being one with all that is, watching the African fish eagle. Abbas sat down next to her, opened his bag. He was about to take a drink from his water bottle when he noticed that the elderly lady looked hungry. So he offered her a small sweet cake. She gratefully accepted it and smiled at him. Her smile was so beautiful that the boy wanted to see it again. So he offered her a drink from his bottle. Again, she smiled at him. The boy was delighted and felt so connected to her. Abbas and the elderly woman sat there all afternoon, eating and drinking and smiling, being in oneness, but they never said a word. As it grew dark, Abbas realized how tired he was, and he stood up to leave. Before he'd gone more than a few steps, he turned around, ran back to the elderly woman, gave her a big hug, She gave him her biggest smile yet of this sacred day. When a boss opened the door to his own home, a short time later, his mother was surprised by the look of this joyful oneness on his face. He was glowing. She asked him, "What did you do today that makes you so full of this glowing joy?" Abbas replied, "I had lunch with the Creator." But before his mother could respond, he added, "You know what? She's got the most beautiful smile I've ever seen." Meanwhile, the elderly woman, also radiant with joy, returned to her home in Dar. Her son was stunned by the look of the joy of oneness on her face, and he asked, "Mother, what did you do today that makes you so full of this glowing joy?" She replied, "I ate small sweet cakes and drank some water in the park with the Creator." And then before her son could respond, she added, "You know, he's much younger than I expected." Beautiful beings of the mystical more, ponder how we have gathered in this atmosphere of acceptance, sharing our spiritual waters, sharing our connecting sweet cakes of our stories and the unity we bring by gathering here now, and for those who will gather in the days to come. I hear the sacred winds blowing in. They're connecting ways to bless each one of us gathered here. These winds bring cleansing to us. They bring vibrations of oneness. I hear them say how sacred each person here is, and how they desire for us to understand the depth of the importance of us coming together in these high and wonderful ways. These winds are calling us to belongness. We belong to the cosmos. We belong because of our trials and tribulations. To one another, we belong. Simply, we belong. We belong. Then when people speak, be wrapped in pure love and light. Be wrapped in tranquility, because that's what will come out of pure love. And the fruit of oneness with one another will bear spiritual fruit that we all need now. Till we gather again. And these precious, meaningful ways of beauty and spirit and love and connectedness, yes, beautiful souls, we are the mystical more. Oh, amen.
Thank you for that beautiful closing blessing. Thank you. Very good. Such a beautiful, beautiful message. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you'll join us again. It's always the first Sunday of the month. Next Saturday is our celebration social circle, where we play games and just be social and connect with each other. That is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 Eastern. And we also have this month, we have the Heart Space Healing event with Lena Zafari. She'll be talking to us about bioacoustics and giving everyone a short recording and explanation. So I hope you'll join us for that. That's April 16th at the same time. It's Sunday, from the third Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that would be noon to 2 Eastern. And I thank you again for joining us and for participating and for your speaking today and sharing your heart space, loving energy with each of us. I hope it sends it off into your week so that you can carry that love forward everywhere you go. Thank you again, and so much love to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. It was beautiful.